این مصاحبه با محترم گری ماس عضو پارلمان ایالتی دولت ویکتوریا انجام شد. آقای ماس از ناحیه انتخاباتی نمایند ساوت نمایندگی میکند. خلاصه آن اینجا و ادامه را در انگلیسی تعقیب نمایید. آقای گری گفت دولت حزب کارگر تمرکز ویژه بالای صحت و آموزش داشته. ما می‌خواهیم مردم کار خوب داشته باشد. ما می‌خواهیم مردم از ترانسپورت عمومی و جاده‌های خوب برخوردار باشند. ویروس جهانگیر کرونا متاسفانه بالای ما تاثیر گذار بوده است. ما همه از محدودیت‌ها متاثر شده ایم و آن را باید رعایت نماییم. ما می‌دانیم که اگر محدودیت‌ها را رعایت کنیم با این آمار کرونا پایین می‌آید. بعضی افراد در منطقه ما از ماه مارس مبتلا به کرونا شده بودند. دفتر من با این افراد در تماس بوده و آنها را حمایت کرده است. تشکر از همه افراد جامعه که در پایین آوردن آمار کرونا دخیل بودند. دولت ویکتوریا با بسته‌های کمکی از جمله $450 برای کسانی که مرخصی مریضی ندارند و $1500 برای کسانی که کرونا میگیرند دارند. این کمک‌ها برای افرادی که ویزای موقت دارند نیز میباشد. کمک‌های مالی برای بخش‌های مختلف و بزنس‌ها نیز موجود است. برای کسانی که در ساختار سول تریدر و یا کژوال کار میکنند نیز کمک‌های مالی موجود است. دولت ویکتوریا کمک‌های مالی $5000 برای جوانان خلاق و آرتیستان نیز دارد. یکی از کارمندان دفتر من به زبان‌های مردم افغانستان صحبت می‌کند. افرادی که در حوزه انتخاباتی زندگی می‌کند اگر دسترسی به خدمات و کمک ضرورت دارند با دفتر من تماس بگیرند و ما با آنها همکاری و آنها را راهنمایی می‌کنیم. افرادی که در حوزه‌های انتخاباتی دیگر زندگی می‌کنند با نماینده‌های پارلمانشان برای کمک و راهنمایی می‌توانند تماس بگیرند.
Welcome to our information station, everyone. Today we have the honor of having with us the Member of Parliament for Narre South, Mr. Honourable Gary Maas. Gary, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time. And we have Sadia with us, the ex-president of United Cultural Support Incorporated. Thank you, Sadia, for organizing this interview. Appreciate that. And then we've got Zabi Mazuri, who is the current president of USCI. Thank you for joining us today, Zabi. And as usual, I've got my co-host with me, Mehdi Sina. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your times. We'll just to start off with Gary, a quick introduction, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Sure thing. And thank you all very much for having me. It truly is an honor. Thank you.
Sadia, do you want to quickly introduce and say hello?
Yes, thank you very much, everyone, for coming on today on your off day. I would like to start by acknowledging the land owners where we all are meeting today, and also thank each and every one, especially Gary, the state member of Parliament for Narre South. Gary has always been an excellent leader, representative of the community. This is why we wanted to meet Gary and ask him a few questions regarding our current climate, and also a short introduction from Gary. And then once we have done the introduction, I would also like to send the Department of Health and Human Services message for the community. So I think I would let it be with Gary to start with his introduction and tell us about what he does. What do you do, and how does it feel to be the state member of Parliament?
Thanks very much, Sadia. Yes, so look, I've been very fortunate to be the elected state parliamentary member for Narre South, and I have been in this role since November 2018. So it's not yet quite 2 years, but it is a tremendous honour to be able to be representing the electorate of Narre South, which has some 50,000 voting constituents. Of course, there's many more people within the electorate because there are many people who aren't on the electoral roll. And of course, there are many people who are under the age of 18 and who aren't eligible to vote. But there are 50,000 voting constituents that I represent in the Victorian State Parliament, and as a part of the Victorian Labor government, which I'm also a very proud part of, to be able to represent all people in our community.
Thank you for the introduction, Gary. That was brilliant. And we would like to know a little bit more in terms of your role within the state parliament. So basically, if you could tell us a little bit about your authorities and what you're actually doing for the community, that would be great.
Sure thing. So the Labor government is a government which is all about community, and it's a government which is all about acting for the collective. So our focus really has always been on health, it's been on education, it's been on jobs, and it's been on public infrastructure for the community. So that means, roads, much better roads for us to travel on, and of course, much better public transport for us all to travel on as well. And I like to look at it this way. Before COVID, we'd wake up in the morning, we'd want to make sure that our children were going to a good school. We'd want to make sure that we were going to good jobs, but we'd also want to make sure that we'd be going to good jobs on adequate public transport or on good roads to get to those jobs. We don't want to be spending a lot of time doing that because we actually want to get home sooner and faster at the end of the day so we can spend more time with our family, because these are the important things. But the sorts of jobs that we want are good jobs for people to perform as well. And so these are the focuses of the Victorian government. And for me, as the elected representative of Narre Warren South, it's my focus to represent all people in the community to be able to access those things.
That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that, Gary. And let's move on to the next question. The next question will be coming from Zabi Mazuri, the current president of USCI.
Gary, it's a pleasure to meet you online, and I hopefully meet you in person very soon. My question is in relation to the current situation of coronavirus. What is your message about the impact of coronavirus on your electorate?
Yes, thanks for the question, Zabi. So, I talked a little bit about the government before coronavirus, but of course, since March, we've been confronted with a worldwide pandemic, which has, of course, affected Victoria. And in Victoria, we've unfortunately had a second wave as well. So that has affected many people in our electorate. And I should mention in our electorate as well, we cover 4 suburbs. We cover Hampton Park, we cover Narre Warren South, we cover parts of Limbrook, and we also cover parts of Berwick as well. And each of those areas have been affected in many different ways. Of course, we've all been affected by the restrictions which are in place, and which we all have to try to do our very best to stick to, because we know that when we stick to those restrictions, we see the numbers coming down, and it means that the infection rate slows down, and it means that we're able to get back and and do all the sorts of things that we enjoy doing day to day. Some members of the community have unfortunately been affected by the coronavirus. I have spoken to some members, quite randomly as it turns out. my electorate office and I have been telephone calling people in the electorate since March to see how they are going. And a few of the phone calls that I've had have been with people who have been in self-isolation or in self-quarantine as a result of having the virus. And so, yeah, there have been, unfortunately, many people in the electorate of Narre Warren South who have had the coronavirus, but I'm very happy to say that my electorate office and the government have been able to help support those people who do get the virus, and it's something that we take very seriously, and it's something that we want to see right through to the end and make sure that we get those numbers, really, really down. It was a tremendous result today to have 14 cases. When you think that, it was almost 6 weeks ago that we were at about 725 cases a day. So everyone in the community is doing their bit to get those numbers down, and that's a fantastic thing.
Thanks very much. I know we all have to come together as a community, and we have all been impacted by the coronavirus. And thanks very much for the information that you have provided on how we have been handling that in Narre Warren South electorate. The other question I have is in relation to economic support. I know the federal government has a few measures to support the community and businesses and jobs. The state government has also introduced the economic packages. There have been some questions from our community members, especially those who have been impacted by coronavirus, and their businesses and jobs have been impacted, but because of their temporary visa issues, they cannot be eligible for the federal government. So what are the economic supports that the Victorian government or yourself have been involved in providing for the community members?
Absolutely, Sabi, and it's a very good question too. And keep in mind that whenever issues like this arise, the Victorian government really does lobby the federal government very hard to try to be able to get different types of solutions through. So the one thing that we do know is that when people are sick, or when people do have a sore throat, a runny nose, these sorts of symptoms, we know that people should go and get tested. But we also know that many people in our communities do not work in secure jobs that afford to them sick pay. So the Victorian government has introduced what's known as a test isolation payment, and this is for in particular, casual workers, people who are working in insecure work, who can go and get tested and then go home and stay home until they get their result back, and they will receive a $450 payment. And even if the test is negative, they will still receive that $450 payment if they apply for it within a 5-day period. So that's a Victorian government initiative, which has been very successful. And the best part about that is that even if you are on a temporary visa, but a temporary visa which allows you to work, then you will still receive that payment. So that is a great thing. The federal government has a payment as well. And again, my understanding is that this particular one is for visa holders with working rights, and that is the worker support payment. And that is $1,500 in the event that you have coronavirus and you have to self-quarantine for a period of 14 days. So it really is the equivalent of the JobKeeper allowance, which my understanding is temporary visa workers can't access. I think that's right. But if you have working rights as a temporary visa holder, you are able to access that $1,500 payment, even if you are in a caring role. I have heard some feedback from the community that they have had trouble with receiving that federal government payment. My advice to the broader community is if you are in my electorate and you have trouble with accessing those payments, please get in contact with us because we are able to assist with that. If you are in the electorate of Cranbourne, please make sure you reach out to Ms. Pauline Richards, who will assist. If you are in the electorate of Bass, please reach out to Jordan Crugnali, who will assist you there. If you are in the electorate of Narre North, Minister Luke Dinellen will be able to help you with your queries. And if you're in the electorate of Dandenong, Minister Gabrielle Williams will be able to assist. But please do not hesitate to contact our officers if you have those sorts of difficulties.
Thank you so much for that information, Gary. That was really helpful, so people can know where to go when they're in need of help, especially for people who are actually getting exposed with this virus. The actual question was that the temporary residents who are actually got work rights and they're currently working and not due to having the symptoms of the virus and self-isolating, in fact that the restriction which is imposed on Victoria has made them lose their job and they do not have any other supports from the federal government. Is there anything that the state government has done in order to help them out?
Yeah, so look, in terms of the testing regime, we've been able to lend support on that. Of course, there's support to different industries as well. So dependent on what the industries are, where that work is taking place, there has been support there as well. Many people structure their work in different ways. They could be working as a sole trader. They could be working for themselves in a company structure. They can be working, as I said, in casual work. But there are different ways and different pools of money that can potentially be accessed. But all of the Victorian government strategies also fit within the federal government strategies as well. And if there is some difficulty in navigating your way through those, again, all I can say is to reach out to your local member of parliament. All of us are still working, even though we're all working from home. Our staff and all of the members are still working, and we can help you to navigate that process.
Thank you for that, Gary. That's really helpful for people who've lost their job and not currently working and struggling financially. That really helps them. So they would reach out to their local MPs if they have any severe financial problems. We'll thank you for the information. I think it's time we move on to the next question. The next question goes to Mehdi Sina. Mehdi would like to ask you a question.
Thank you, Naeem. Thank you, everyone. So, yeah, Gary, I think you were talking about people who has been forgotten. I should say, like those people with the bridging visa. I call them people who has been forgotten by Australian government, which is sound like that. And a lot of them, they are facing like barrier, like language barrier, because for them there is not a lot of support available, like so they can improve. Like, what if one of those people come to your local MP or like your electorate area and say like, I need help because of language barrier, I cannot express. Like, is there any support for them available in your office? Like some sort of like supporting with the language barrier, like if they speak Farsi or Hazara and like cannot communicate in English, is there any sort of like support or assistance available?
Absolutely, and I'm very glad that you've asked me that question. I do have one electorate officer who he just works part-time, but he is able to speak many Afghan languages in particular, so he is able to assist there. So even if he is not working on a particular day, we are able to facilitate that kind of work. And I think it is also very important that we have forums such as what we are doing now. Ultimately, groups like UCSI have the infrastructure out into the community, and it is by means of this conversation such as we're having now, Mehdi, where we're able to be able to connect into the community. The other thing that we're able to do, and also with your assistance, is to put, whether it's graphic tiles or short videos together to be able to explain these things with the appropriate translations. Then we are able to get that information out. And the more of this that we do, then the better it is for the broader community, as everyone can get assistance. And I'm really very, very happy that has been happening. I'm happy that we're still doing this now, because the more we do this, the more those numbers will come down, and the faster all of us can get back to, working how we normally work, and living the sorts of lives that we normally live. And that is, of course, the one thing that we all want.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Mehdi.
Do you have any other questions, Mehdi, or is that all?
I think we are running out of time, but if you quickly explain, young people who are quite creative, they want to, like us, they want to create content. Is there any support for them? Like right now we are creating content and we don't have some sort of support, specifically studio or something, someplace we can go and easily record our the stuff we want to record every week. So is there any support for those sort of young people?
Absolutely, there is. Just today, the government released a creative industries program, and this comes back to what I was talking about before, where in different industries that have been particularly hit, there are grants and investments which have been made. This particular one announced today was all about hotel venues and live music venues where live music takes place, and that was about assisting that area. In the southeast, we have many talented musicians, we have many talented artists, dancers, singers, recording artists, bands. It's a really fantastic thing. And I'm very happy that the Victorian government has in place $5,000 individual grants for artists in particular who are struggling. So these are, again, pools of money that people can access to help keep them afloat, but also to help them in particular projects that they may have, whether that is putting together a show for a performance during a COVID normal phase, or whether it might be recording, or whether it might be accessing the sort of materials that it might be costuming for dance. It might be a range of materials if you're an artist or a poet or something like that. So there are these individual grants available. And again, please contact your local members' offices, because we can point you in the right direction as to where to apply for those grants.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. That was quite informative, and maybe you can contact your local MP for that. Thank you. And we're running out of time. We only have 6 minutes. We'll quickly go back to Sadia. Sadia, if you would like to elaborate on DHH's safety messages, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Naeem, and thank you everyone again. I'll quickly just send out the message to the community from the entire team of UCSI that's been emphasized by the Department of Health and Human Services, which is, first of all, thanking everyone for staying at home. I would like to say that in our language so that everyone can understand, if that's okay. Yeah. از اول تشکری منو مستمام شم که خانه ششتن که مقصد ما نمبرار بسیار تا ورده که از حساب ویروس دوم که است مقصد اگر کدام چیزی که سیمپتومز یعنی بخار یا سلفا یا چیز اونین پلیز فورن تست کنین خودون خو. دیگه یک دیگه مسیج دیگه است که تستینگ فری است، یعنی کدام پیسه یا چیز چارج نمونه، بسیار کویک هم است، زود تست میشه. دیگه اویلیبل است، اویلیبل یعنی موجود است در حساب نزدیک خانه شما. تستینگ سایتس که است میتونین که از فیسبوک یا مو میتونین که اونها شیر کنی، ولی فیسبوک پیج مو هم است. دیگه یک چیز دیگه است که اگر مقصد تستینگ سایتس از خانه شما از 5 کیلومتر دورتر است، میتونین که شما زنگ بزنین و در خانه شما میتونه که باید و تست کنه. That's one of the messages. یک پیغام بود از طرف Department of Health and Human Services. I hope that you have understood, and I hope you will be collaborating so that we can decrease the numbers, and you all have done it. We are, very much happy with what the progress of City of Casey has been. So thank you.
Thank you, Sadia, for stating that message from the Department of Health, and that should really help. So once again, everybody, we're summing this meeting up. Thank you, Gary Maas, again for your time, and we really appreciate you coming here. Thank you, Sadia, for your time. Thank you, Zabi, for your time. Thank you, Mehdi, for your time. It's been a very informative session, and hopefully we'll give it out to the community, and we'll have a very positive feedback on these matters. Thanks again, everyone. If anyone would like to say anything at the end, feel free to do it. Otherwise, we are ending the meeting.
I'll just quickly say thank you all very much for your time, and again for this invaluable service that you are providing, and you certainly have been providing to the community. So to Sadia, Naeem, Zabi and Mehdi, thank you so much, and thank you for involving me to be a part of this too. But I just have to reiterate that if there are issues with accessing Victorian government programs, or even if you're having trouble with federal government programs, please help yourselves by coming to speak to your local MPs, because we can, if we can't assist you directly, which we will try to do, we will certainly be able to point you in the right direction. But of course, we will be doing our best to assist you. So please come on through. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thanks again, Gary. Thank you for being available for your community every time and helping them out in any way you can in your office. Thank you very much for that. So anyone else would like to say anything at the end if you haven't covered?
I would like to add on what Gary has said, echoing on what you are saying, Gary. Thank you very much, everyone. And I want to add something for young people. If you have lost your jobs, please go on to your Work for Victoria. And there's a good website that's called Sidekickers. If you have lost your job and you are really struggling with that, please subscribe to that Sidekickers, which advertises every day new jobs specifically for Victoria in health sections, construction, cleaning sites. So we've got a lot of opportunity for young people, for men, women, anyone who is interested, in whatever that suits your career path. Just it's not easy. It's just you have to submit your expression of interest and wait for your response. That's another way of getting employment.
Thank you, Sadia. Thank you for mentioning that. That would really help the community. And yes, as we've summed it all up, I think we're running out of time, so we'll just end this interview here. Thanks again, everyone, for coming, and you enjoy the rest of your hour.